In a nutshell, Peter, could you tell us a little bit more about the technology behind this project?
Absolutely, and it's a very common question because the project is usually seen by people as something that's futuristic, where the reality is there's no new radical technology that's required to make this work today. If you can imagine a satellite in space powered by solar panels that converts that energy to a radio frequency and beams it back to Earth, exactly the same as a cell phone or a news channel. And that we've been doing for many years, so the physics is well understood. What most people don't understand is what happens once that signal hits the ground. And instead of broadcasting over a wide area, if you were to harness the signal to a smaller area, you can then transfer that signal and convert it back into direct current on the ground safely, cleanly, and effectively all the way out from orbit.
How will such a project impact life here on Earth?
We're talking about a technology that has the ability to broadcast clean energy on demand anywhere on Earth in real time as and when it's needed. I mean, nothing else can do that. Nothing on the drawing board can do that. And the implications when you start looking at what we could do with that technology are incredible. For example, rural electrification in the third world, areas that can't get onto the grid economically. We can transfer energy into remote locations to basically assist with things like refrigeration of medicines, crop refrigeration, and lighting towns and villages that don't have access to streetlights that are using kerosene lamps. So for poverty reduction around the world, there is huge implications. And if you look at things like, for example, disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, we've had quite a few of those recently. And one of the reasons the Chinese government's also very interested in this technology is because while you can get relief workers on the ground anywhere in hours on the Earth, the biggest challenge when faced with the aftermath of an earthquake or a tsunami is that there's no power for their tools to work. So if you could broadcast energy into areas that have had their infrastructure taken out, then you can have immediate impact for disaster areas as well. As I said earlier, the implications for energy in almost anywhere in the world right now for what we can bring to the table is huge.
How much will such a project cost, and who's looking right now at financing this?
Well, it's an ambitious project, obviously. We're talking about putting a satellite in space that can transmit a gigawatt of energy, the same as a nuclear power plant. Each satellite would be able to broadcast that from orbit. Each satellite will cost about $16 billion, which is about the same price as a nuclear plant when you take into account the full cost accounting. So it's kind of comparable today. The first step really is a demonstrator, which we're working on right now, which will require $300 million, which in comparison to what we can bring for the technology, we feel is very little for the payoff that can come from that. We have several people looking right now, even in this region. The Qataris, for example, are also have made some very interesting noises to look at this technology. I think this area specifically, because it's had so much visionary aspects to it. This is a visionary project. It requires bold leadership and it requires an understanding of planning for the future. And I think in this area, specifically in the Middle East, North Africa, there's been a lot of that, and I think that's why there's been a lot of traction. Apart from the obvious governments like India, China, who we've been speaking with for quite a while to basically take this project on as well.
How much will a unit of electricity cost produced by such a space project?
Our current estimates are coming in at market rates at around 16 cents a kilowatt, which for clean energy delivered on demand, I think is cost competitive today, let alone for a 20-year project power purchase agreement that we'd be actually executing with this.